first reading today, that beautiful story of the boy Samuel and how he hears the Lord speak his name. Multiple times he is woken up in the middle of the night with his name, Samuel, Samuel. He gets up and he runs to Eli. He thinks it's Eli who's calling him, but it's actually the Lord. And I was struck with, in the middle of the reading, it says, at that time Samuel was not yet familiar with the voice of the Lord. So something maybe to reflect on, that there can be times in our life, in our seasons, that we're not familiar with the gentle voice of the Lord. Like, what does that sound like? How do we attune our hearts and our ears to actually hear the Lord speaking even our name, a very personal name to us as he addresses us? And this revelation happened for Samuel in the context of silence. So you can just imagine this young boy Samuel. He's dedicated his life to the Lord. He's actually living in the temple. He spends day and night there, and it says that he was sleeping near the ark of the Lord. It's kind of a powerful image. It'd be like being curled up here on the sanctuary floor, being close to the tabernacle, actually just sleeping in the temple, close to the presence of God, close to the ark of the Lord. It's kind of a beautiful image for us to maybe imagine. But this life of silence disposed him and prepared his heart to receive the most important words ever, the Lord's words to him when he heard his name, Samuel, Samuel. And he responds, "Here I am. Here I am, Lord. I've come to do your will." Similarly, in the gospel, we get a little bit of the story of John the Baptist pointing out Jesus to some of his disciples. So we see Andrew, one of those disciples, and then he runs to his brother Peter and said, "We have found him. We've found the Christ." So this theme of waiting, even this silence in Andrew's heart, the whole people of Israel, that they're actually waiting, they're listening. Is this the one? Where is he going to come? Where's the Christ coming from? And when he sees him, he says, "We found him. We found who we've been waiting for." So the gift of silence allows us to actually hear the most important things, actually the word of the Lord, his voice, and how he speaks our names to all of us. But this is not very easy, especially in our world today. So I just want to name that and speak from just the culture and the way our life is. It can be so fast that life just goes, and even technology and our smartphones can really distract us from having like a recollected life and having some silence in our lives, in our hearts. So for me, the image that catches me is I'll start my day in silence as best as I can, try to listen to the Lord, but then partway through the day, I have to catch myself, because it's like somewhere along the way, I've kind of got onto the hamster wheel, and I'm just going. I'm just going fast, and I'm like, whoa, where's an off-ramp? I need to get off this hamster wheel and actually like reground myself, root myself, so I can go through life in a different way, not just reacting, but actually just being able to intentionally live. And silence is a great tool, a great gift for us to be able to do that and to be able to enter in deeper into prayer. A book that I recently started reading, Father Peter got it for me for Christmas, is The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. Perhaps some of you have heard it, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And it's actually really good. I've been receiving a lot from it of just how do we get hurry out of our life and actually allow ourselves to live in a more intentional way, not letting life just zoom past us, but actually being rooted, being recollected. So I want to propose that silence allows us to do this. Silence can open a way for us to enter into prayer and to be rooted in our lives in a different way. So a little story, a little image perhaps for us is Jesus' own encounter with silence. So it's throughout the Gospels that Jesus is always sneaking away from his disciples, from the crowds, to go to a deserted place and to pray, to actually be in silence with his heavenly Father. So if you've ever had the opportunity are the chance to go to the Holy Land. It's amazing because you actually see Galilee, Capernaum, all the areas where Jesus lived and walked. And most likely during his time, most of his time he spent preaching was around Galilee, around the Sea of Galilee, around the town of Capernaum. And in that little town was St. Peter's home, and he probably lived with St. Peter. And it says throughout the Gospels that people would come to him day and night to hear his teaching, hear his words. He would preach, he would heal, he'd cast out demons. But yet throughout the Gospels as well, it also notes that he would rise early in the morning and he would go to a deserted place and pray. So the whole area of Galilee, it's not too large there, and there's really only one area that a person could be in the foothills and actually receive some shelter if it was raining, if it was stormy. So there's this little cave there that overlooks the Sea of Galilee, and from ancient times it's had a cross inscribed in it. So it's been referred to as the Jesus Cave. That very likely the place as Jesus rose early in the morning, he went out into the foothills and he would find refuge in this little cave where he'd just sit down, he'd be able to overlook the Sea of Galilee, and he would just spend time in silence with his heavenly Father. And then we know the disciples would follow, they'd find him and say, "Lord, everybody's looking for you." And he says, "Okay, let's go on to the next town so I can preach there as well." But for me, this image has been really powerful of just Jesus in a little cave, being able to spend time in silence with his heavenly Father. So silence is this gift that can root us, but also an image can maybe help us in our prayer enter more readily into silence. So for me, this image of the cave is a place that I readily go back to in my prayer. I actually picture myself when I start a day of prayer, like a time of prayer, I picture myself walking up to this little cave and picture Jesus just sitting in it. And then I sit down next to him, and then I just have a chance just to share my heart, just to be able to share my life, share what's happened that day to him, and just to be able to be with him, to rest with him. So I just want to encourage, perhaps it's something we haven't done before, but an image can be a great way that actually leads us into prayer. So for me, this image of a cave, it's a place that I can go back to, and it helps me to enter into a time of prayer, a time of silence, to be with the Lord. So if we think of our own lives, perhaps there's the image of your lake or your cabin or a beautiful sunset or a beautiful sunrise on the dock, that there's these images that we really have experienced just a peace and a way just to be with the Lord. So maybe just to let ourselves call those images to mind as we enter into prayer can be a great physical way of actually entering into silence, to picture Jesus sitting right next to us on the dock, and to actually just share our life, share our heart with him, and to allow ourselves to be rooted in a deep way in that gift of silence, that gift of prayer, the gift of peace. A couple of years ago, I had the gift of actually going to the Holy Land, so I was able to see this Jesus cave, and it was amazing. It really struck me, so I have the actual image in my memory. And we were staying about 20 minutes away in a little area, but one morning I was inspired, so I rose early in the morning. I was like, I'm going to set out. I want to go to that cave by myself. And it was raining, so I brought my umbrella, but I went hiked across the way to this little cave, and I was just praying that one of my brothers who I was traveling with hadn't beat me to the cave, because I really wanted to be there alone with the Lord. So I got there, I didn't see anybody, and I got up, and luckily no one was there. So I was able just to spend time sitting in this little cave, just praying, being with the Lord. And it's been such a place of repetition that I can go back to in my own prayer life. So I just want to hold that up, the gift of silence, and maybe an image that can lead us into that silent place in our own life throughout this week. Maybe to think of what some of those images or those memories might be that can really help us enter into a time of prayer, a time of rest with the Lord. So an image, silence leads us into prayer so we can hear the most important thing ever, the voice of the Lord, actually not just saying generalities, but actually speaking our name, just as he says the name of Samuel in our readings today. That if we attune our ears, our hearts, we can actually hear him address us in those really beautiful, particular ways. So just invite us to let our hearts be open to that silence, that gift of his grace, of his peace this day.